Well, guys, it is a real privilege to be up here for this message in particular. This, for me, is something that I have been really looking forward to, and something I'm really excited about. By the way, how great have the speakers been for this session? My God, it's amazing. Now, Stephen mentioned that I really do. I have a passion in trying to bridge that gap sometimes that exists between the managers and the field. And let me ask you guys, just by a show of hands, have you ever had times where you wish your DVM had a better understanding of the events program? Can anyone relate to that just by a show of hands? Fair to say. It's a lot of hands. Have you ever felt like managers sometimes just don't understand what we do, or maybe they don't even respect what it takes to actually perform at the level that we're kicking at right now? Show of hands. Be honest. Okay. Guys, have you ever wondered how so many top programs, it seems to operate so smoothly and they continue to grow and just move together? Well, our goal here tonight is to try and demystify this process. And in doing so, we're going to get a chance to share some feedback from some of the top division managers and top programs in the company, and also some of their coordinators to get a chance to help us out. At last year's NET meeting, I got a chance to deliver a talk to the coordinators on the structure of an events program. And during that talk, I talked about the importance of DVMs within the program, because ultimately, shows belong to the DVMs. Okay, shows belong to the DVMs. The DVMs are the people who are entrusted by Vector Marketing Corporation to market and distribute Cutco within that territory. And so at the end of the day, it kind of begins and ends with them. Now, for some CSPs, it gives you the squicks. And you're like, ooh, I don't love that. Okay, but you can't feel that way. It's not something you can fight against. In my experience, there's a few kinds of DVMs out there. Okay, there's some DVMs that really have a great understanding of the event space. And I think that's what all of us want. Yes or yes? Yes or yes? We want DVMs that are a positive participant in what we're doing, and there's great models for that out there. In some divisions, though, there's DVMs that are well-intentioned, but they don't fully understand this space, and so they sometimes overreach. They try to help, but they do it in a way that's intrusive and occasionally can cut you off. Can anyone ever relate to that in your experience with Cutco? Preach. I heard that. All right, and then guys, there's some DVMs that, they mean well, but because they don't feel confident operating in this area, they kind of just hold back. They almost do nothing. They don't know how to be a positive participant in what we're trying to build, even though you guys represent such a massive part of their divisional sales. Have y'all ever felt that before too, like you weren't getting that attention and support? Well, guys, what we have the chance to do and what we want to do is help bridge that gap, because all this stuff that I'm talking about, what's possible when you have a thriving program where you have true alignment between coordinators, FSMs, CSPs, and DVMs all across the board, it only works when you have a positive partnership set up. And that is what we're going to get a chance to talk about tonight. Can you guys get down with that goal? I love it. Well, guys, so to help us do this, we went to 3 of the top performing programs in the entire company. We went to the DVMs for these programs that are consistently in the top 5 every single year. And we also went to 2 of the DVMs that are helping be a part of programs that are the fastest growing in the nation. And we got a chance to talk to them about how do they see events fitting in? What are some of the challenges they've overcome? How do they feel their role fits into this program, and many other questions. This was a really big project. We have over an hour of amazing content and thoughts from these leaders in the business that we've distilled down to some golden nuggets that we're going to share with you guys tonight. And we're also going to help bring some of their coordinators up from some of these top divisions to also unpack this a bit and provide a little bit of context. So let me go ahead and bring up 2 of my colleagues that are going to help us through this. If we could bring up Curtis JQs, one of the coordinators for the Rocky Mountain Division, and Mike Tortora from the Cavalier Division. Let's give him a big round of applause. All right. We missed you, Curtis. So here's what we did. We reached out to a selection of DVMs, and who you're going to hear from tonight. You're going to hear from John Carpenter from the Texoma Division, Stacy Campbell from the Lone Star Division, Dane Espegard from North Star, Drew Frank from the Rocky Mountain Division, and Justin Neefus from the Cavalier Division. We have a lot of great stuff to cover, and I am so excited to share this with y'all. Can y'all feel it from me? Can you feel how excited I am? Guys, I think this is the next level for us. We're going to bridge this gap, and we're going to be the people to do it. So we've got some videos here that we're going to share. If we can go ahead and kick it off, the first question we ask is, what is your current level of involvement in the events program as a DVM? Let's roll it.
Pretty involved. I look at myself quite a bit as a support person, a cheerleader. I feel like I'm always here from a leadership or a vision standpoint to be able to help and to be able to support the team. But the reality is my coordinator, Brian Carter, has a really great feel for the team, and Kelly Martins and those people that really are in great leadership roles that want the team to do very, very well. I try to do my best to basically support them. I feel like we have a great relationship. I'm proud of that relationship. We travel around the world, and that's definitely how I want to keep growing the team, is by adding people and try to make their vision their reality.
Here's what ideal situation is that monthly I can have a sit down with the coordinator and go through objectives and focuses and growth areas and goals for shows or things of that type. Certain times of year it's recruiting, that we need to go through recruiting and what's going to happen with training, things of that type. So that's kind of a monthly thing. Constant email and text happen pretty regularly with the coordinator and with my involvement in the program. I try to attend all the key event functions because I just believe those are super duper important and those people are super duper important. Some select traditional event meetings as well I'll try to attend. And then obviously the beginning of every training, I try to be involved in that as well. So my involvement kind of is at every level.
High in terms of awareness, not extremely high in terms of like amount of time that I spend necessarily at the meetings and that type of stuff. My awareness in terms of what's going on, who's working what, where people are at for the campaign, issues, that kind of stuff. I also am very involved with recruiting. This is really, I really focus a lot of my energy. I feel like this is the DVM's job, is to promote the opportunity. The other area is meeting with our coordinator, Seth Kinzer, and I, we meet before each events meeting. He and I will get some time together to make sure the agenda is tight and that he's just prepared and ready to go. Kind of some checks and balances to make sure that he's running the best meeting that he can and providing great leadership. The other area I would say is that I'm involved in could be any personnel issues. I try and do as much of that as possible through our coordinator so that the decisions are coming from them, because I don't want to take away any of their authority. You know, I'd say I'm a sounding board.
Early on, when we were first starting the program and developing our systems and standards and policies, I was a lot more involved. As Robert and Curtis have developed into unbelievable leaders and mentors, certainly my involvement has scaled back. We have a monthly Fair and Show team meeting. As long as I'm in town, I'm part of that meeting, delivering a personal or professional development message or goal setting. Certainly nothing about selling knives, because I have no business teaching my CSPs how to sell more knives. We also have a monthly coordinator meeting between myself, Robert, and Curtis, and that's where we talk about our systems and necessary program changes. And we also talk about individual reps on our team and how we can help serve them better. I try to do as much one-on-one work with our CSP team and our show team members as possible. So anybody on the show team typically has a one-on-one call with me each campaign to go over their goals and planning and just touch base and strengthen our relationship. Every so often, we try to get a lunch or a dinner or some type of meal together just to spend some good quality time one-on-one. My CSPs never refuse a free meal.
As a DVM, I guess I would have to say that I'm passively active with our group of people. I put a lot of trust in our coordinators. That being said, I keep my finger on the pulse. One of the ways that we do this is with a campaign meeting. We do a meeting with our coordinators to go over policies, any changing, staffing, any type of payoffs that we might be running. We have a monthly conference call, the coordinators and myself. We do usually have a fun event, either each campaign or a big payoff event for the year. I might try to speak whenever I can for any team trainings or meetings as well, just to stay current myself as a DVM.
So a couple things that stood out to me when you're listening to that, and it's interesting how many different personality types you see represented there. You know, John Carpenter is a very big picture guy. He's a very culture guy. For him, it's about support. It's about vision. It's about relationships. Stacey Campbell, you could just hear how he has this very clear vision for how he can contribute. This very clear role that he knows he can fill on the team, and he really owns that space. Dane talked a lot about recruiting and promoting the opportunity, be a sounding board, just to make sure that his leaders are leading in the best way possible. Drew, I love, talked about how early on he was very involved in the program. You know, I know that when I first took over as coordinator, I probably could use a little more involvement. And that's something that I think I should have asked a little more for. But over time, as people developed and matured, you know, it took on more of its own role and independence. And of course, I never turned down free meals either. Do you try and get your DVM to take you to the really nice place? You should do that. Justin talks about being passively active, which is, I think, a really great way to explain maybe the ideal role. So to kind of take this one step further, I want to direct this first question towards Mike. Just give us a little context here. Mike, Justin is your DVM, and I was really curious, what is his presence kind of like in meetings and events? Like, how would you describe working with him and what that relationship is like?
So, there we go. So Justin's great in the fact that, he always has an open door policy. For whatever we ask of him. He's always on our January kickoff meeting agenda, usually giving a message about our yearly focus, changes we're making, our goal for the year. He's always kind of on the same page with us. Like you mentioned in the video, we also have a one per campaign dinner meeting with Justin, where he takes all the leaders out. We go out for a nice dinner. We discuss what went well last campaign, how we can improve it, and where we're headed. He also hosts a number of fun activities. He's taken us to Vegas twice.
Hey-o.
Last time we stayed at the Floyd Merriweather Suite at the top of the Palms. It didn't suck, I'll tell you that. Shot a lot of guns. It was a lot of fun.
Wait, shot a lot of guns?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Justin loves guns, so we went to the gun club and lit that baby up. All
of a sudden, his beard makes way more sense.
Put it all together. He hosts several champions nights, which is basically kind of like a fun night on the town. A lot of food, a lot of fun. Which he always invites us to. Sometimes me and Rob kind of sneak our way into ones that aren't really promoted, but finding out about it. And then lastly, he has these things called family nights, which is interesting. It's where he actually has all the managers and the CSPs over at his house all at one time for food, fun, and once again, usually shooting guns. So, and kind of last fun fact about Justin is currently Justin and our pilot are actually back home setting up our big Great Big Home and Garden show that starts Friday, since we're all here at the night meeting. So that's some commitment right there.
I love that. Guys, what about the idea of having a space where the CSPs and the district managers were all together because the DVM felt that was important? Does that kind of resonate with anyone? Is that something you'd be really excited about, to kind of have that space and be invited to that table? Isn't that amazing? Justin has really created that. I love that. All right. Well, I tell you what, the second question is this good so far? Has this been interesting? Oh, y'all don't even know where we're going. This is about to get real. So the next question we ask is, how do you see events fitting into the larger picture of your division? So let's go ahead and turn this over to the next video and see what the DVMs had to say.
Our events team is like the best office in our entire division. I try to look at them as a group of amazing individuals that really get a chance to move the needle the most. Really great culture and the way our people feel in the events program, so much to the point where, Brian and I have talked many times about how do we do that with our district and branch managers? How do we help have that culture wherever we go?
It is extremely important to North Star Division. I view our events team on equal ground with our district manager teams. We have a vibrant program. We have a vibrant team. We have extremely intelligent and driven people that are on our team that are career-oriented individuals. And that's what we want on our district manager team as well. I try and operate our division, whereas there's no, like, the DM is not greater than a CSP on an event team, and the CSP is also not greater than the DM, but they all are in career positions with our business.
I view it kind of as a district office. In my opinion, the event program is a district office, and the coordinator is really kind of like the district manager of that office. And in the case of the Lone Star Division, I mean, it's 15 to 25% of our sales every single year that come from the event program. So it's not just a district office, it actually is our number one district office. So I view it as kind of a top performing level. So that's why I believe spending time on planning with it, focus, time with the people, movement in the program are all positive things, positive time spent in order to make the program the best that it can be.
Our events team is a big pillar in our division. Our events program here in Cavalier is one of the things that we've been focused on growing now for the past 5, if not 6 years. The bottom line is our division won't reach its goals, if our events program isn't growing and reaching its individual goals. So it is a huge part of our organization, a huge part of the success here in Cavalier.
Well, this is a tricky question because our events team and our show team is such a huge component of our division. You can't really just take pieces out. Everything works so closely together. One of the strategic decisions that Robert and Curtis and Tui and I made over 10 years ago was that we wanted to build all of our programs with the idea of strengthening our CSP community and our district manager team simultaneously. So we've made a lot of program decisions over the years that have strengthened both. We want to make sure that there's not a two-path mentality. In a lot of divisions, and certainly early on in my Cutco years, there was always the debate of management versus FSM. In our division, it's all one program. It's called development. You sell a lot of knives and you learn how to lead, and you either lead yourself or you lead other people, but it's all the same. And it's a lot of the same skill sets too. Our show team members are so influential in the division, and that respect that I just mentioned is so important. I see and I know and I value the influence of each CSP to their individual office and to the division. And I want to make sure that I show that and show my appreciation, whether it's through Dirty 30 events or CSP dinners every once in a while, or our annual CSP cruise. Our CSP team gets to see a lot of appreciation and respect from the management team, and vice versa. Our CSP team is really great at showing their appreciation by influencing their DMs and the reps in their offices.
So a couple takeaways I had in there. You heard John talk about culture. Culture is a big word in the Texoma division. Culture with TGP, I think, is the most important thing that we have to offer. And he talks about how the culture is so good in our events team that, with us, we don't know how to export it. How can we take this to the managers? How can we let the CSPs actually lead the rest of the division and take the good stuff that we have? Dane talks about that respect. Could you hear the respect that he had in his voice? Look at the job that Seth and Bert and all those guys up there have done establishing themselves. Career-oriented individuals, and the DM and the CSP are equal opportunities. Stacey Campbell, I don't know if y'all got this, but there's just an identity that he gives his team. They are the best office in our division. They're the best office in our division. How powerful is that? They have an identity. They're not a part of anything else. They are their own thing. And I think that's amazing. Justin talks about that long-term development. And it's amazing how seeing the growth that Cavaliers had this year, that was inspiring. How big was y'all's check? $22,000. Guys, just based on their growth. And so it's so easy to round that off to this overnight success, but he talked about how that has been a process. That's been a priority for years, and they're just now getting to that place. But I love how Drew talked about influence. Drew talked about how a strategic decision was made to build all programs up to support CSPs and DMs. CSPs and DMs. How they value the influence, and that respect goes both ways. They give and they take on both sides. Isn't that powerful? Okay, for us, it's all about development and learning to lead, leading yourself or leading other people. That was tremendous. So I wanted to direct this question to Curtis, okay? Because Curtis has the best answer to everything ever. If you're not sure about that, ask him something tonight. Curtis, how do you view the relationships between CSPs and managers in the Rocky Mountain Division?
Well, like Drew said, equally. I think the thing that's great is that we have a DVM that looks at CSPs as, he told me once, this is what I love about it, he actually thinks that there should be more CSPs, and that he actually looks at us as the new offices or the new division leaders. He would rather put out more CSPs in our division than he would a bad branch or a bad DM or anything like that. The other thing that we do is we actually put skin in the game for both people. So what we do is our DMs pay a percentage for their CSPs to be on our fair and show team, which is nice, because what happens is then that CSP knows that their manager is paying for them to be on our team. So what they do is they actually give back to their managers as well and try to develop and help those people out as well. So the thing that's nice is, like Drew said, we're created equal, because what we want to do is make sure that the whole entire division has skin in the game, not only if you're a CSP, but also if you are a manager as well. Because the CSPs, they also pay a percentage to be on the team as well. So they know that they have to either lead or get out. So, and it's great because, my whole team is sitting over here and I love it. And the thing is, they know that their job and their role in our division is just like being a DM. So whenever they come to a meeting or anything like that, that's how people look at them, and they hold themselves very professional because Drew holds them at a higher level too.
Guys, I love how they've established policies that strengthen the connection between the different areas, that force things and encourage things to work in a very symbiotic way. For those of you, and I just want to say, like those in Drew's division, you just called them out in such a great way. How does it make you feel? Does it make you feel great hearing Drew talk about y'all that way? It's pretty awesome. For everyone here who loves John Carpenter, when John talks about how proud he is, how does that make y'all feel? Is that a great feeling? I knew my guys would yell. Okay, so what do you do if you're not in that place, though? Because I think some people, I showed this video to a few people before, and they said, man, I get it. I see what's possible now, but now I'm just frustrated because that's not the dynamic that I have with my division manager. Can anyone relate to that? Just by a show of hands? So again, guys, the point of this is to help bridge the knowledge gap. And there's some work that needs to be done on the DVM side, and there's some work that needs to be done on our side. But can you control what another person does? No, you can't. What can you control? What you do. So if you're not coming from a place of having the strongest relationship with your division manager, what steps can you do to help bridge that gap and improve that? That was the next question we asked. And this is, I think, one of the most dynamite things. So let's go ahead and play this third video.
I think it starts with finding out why there isn't a productive relationship.
It's usually just past miscommunication, not enough time with that individual.
Just spend time.
For me, it's all about time.
I would just try to meet for lunch, meet for breakfast, meet for some time.
Ask for time. Don't be afraid to ask for time. Your DVMs are really good at what they do, but they're not mind readers. I know I always had an issue with this myself. Up and coming in the business was asking for time for my division manager or my region manager or what have you. And it's okay to fight for that time.
The things I think would be important for you to share would be ask to get in the calendar. Share your intentions so the DVM knows where you're coming from. It's not just like, this is my intention of our meeting, but this is what I want to do for 2019. This is what I'd like to see. This is what I see for myself over the course of the next 3 years. I think those types of conversations can help you get aligned with your DVM.
And talk about the goals of the division. I would talk about goals of the division, goals of what the division manager is trying to accomplish at the current time, and how you can support those goals and support those things.
Stay humble. Trust me when I say that your DVM wants what's best for the division. They want what's best for you. Don't demand things and, say, oh, we need this or we need that. The conversation, if that's what it is, probably is not going to last that long.
You can talk about your goals. Okay, that's fine. But try to bring it back to what is out there the division manager is trying to impact, and how you can be an impact on that particular on those particular areas, and figure out some places where you can make an impact, where you can start building a relationship, and then continue that process consistently.
Offer to give back. I love our coordinators in Cavalier because they're always willing to give back. They want to speak at team meetings. They want to speak at divisional events. They want to speak at conferences in the region. And I think this is important. I think giving back is a big part of leadership. I think giving back is a big part of, developing oneself, especially if we want to be a leader on an events team or a coordinator and somebody who has that leadership role and or title.
What do you need to see from me? And be open to constructive criticism. Maybe there's some things that somebody's done in the past, or maybe there's some, rubbing, if you will, between individuals that just wasn't healthy for the business and happened in the past. Like Vector, we're in the business of giving people second, third, and fourth chances. And that's what's great about our business.
Don't be afraid to bring things to the table, but just make sure that you do it in a respectful way.
If there's something from the past that you kind of hold a grudge, if you will, or if there's some kind of thing maybe with the DVM related to that, kind of got to give up the past in that respect. We're all going to make mistakes. We're going to make mistakes a lot of times. Josh can probably relate to this one pretty heavily. In the process of getting the event program started in the Lone Star division, man, I made tons of poor decisions and mistakes that Josh probably wanted to cut my head off for. He made some things where I was like, I didn't really agree with him either. But the end game is we both knew that we always had the greater good in mind. We were always trying to make decisions for that greater good.
Be open and honest with your division manager. Like I said, be respectful, but don't be afraid to share what's on your mind. But with that, what's working? What's not working? How do we want to move this relationship forward? Where do you want to see change? And more importantly, how are you going to change? And how are we all together going to change to make things better?
And so I think if you meet with the DVM, have those conversations, and then check in every so often, I think that's a good start, anyways, at forging that stronger relationship.
So what did every single one of them say? What's the first step to improving the relationship? What's the first step? You got it. Guys, I love how they talked about it's oftentimes past miscommunications or even just bad habits you've gotten to. Complacency and not doing the hard work of building relationships on both sides tend to lead to these issues. Are you contributing to the larger goals of the division? Are you developing yourself as a leader? Are you staying humble? And are you staying hungry? I love the question of what do you need to see from me? That's such a great question. By the way, leaders, that's a great question to ask the people working under you, but it's also a great question to ask your managers and your superiors. Both sides make mistakes. The Lone Star division was one of the pioneer divisions in the event space. And Josh Muller, he's the one that working with Stacy Campbell helped codify so many things that we take for granted nowadays. And so I love Stacy's transparency, talking about how early on, Josh made decisions that Stacy didn't always agree with. And Stacy made decisions that Josh didn't always agree with. But because they were both working and trying to make decisions to the best of their ability towards that common good, they gave each other grace and they were always able to work through it. That is what alignment looks like, okay? And the last thing, I don't want to let this slide by. At the very end, Dane mentioned about having these conversations, but then always taking time and following up. Don't let this be a one-time thing where you have this great moment of inspiration. The work of building relationships is the work. It's prioritizing communication and time together. One of the greatest things that Josh has really taught me, one of the gifts he's given me, is when I'm working with my influencers, always making sure that at the end of a call or at the end of a conversation, we establish when is the next time we're going to touch base. It's such a key skill with your DVMs because, again, they do get busy. And by the way, y'all are just as busy as them half the time. So I wanted to direct this question to Curtis. Curtis has worked for and with a lot of DVMs. Just because of his prominence in the role he plays nationally, I would wager to say that, save maybe Josh, Curtis has worked with more DVMs than anyone in the company. And so I wanted to ask Curtis, what is your relationship like with Drew, and how is it really different from the relationship that you've had with other DVMs?
So the great thing about Drew is that Drew actually looks at me as a business partner, and that we are in this together to create something bigger than itself. We are the Rocky Mountain division. We know we are the Rocky Mountain. We lead by example. We don't fall behind and watch people beat us, right? And that's just our attitude. That's how we've always been. With other DVMs, they don't think of it like that. They think of us CSPs as whiny, overpaid, people.
Ouch.
Yeah, people that don't deserve the time, right? And that's not true. We all deserve the time. That's what I loved about how they said time. And the thing is that if you just show that you care about their division and what they're trying to create, doors open like you wouldn't believe. Whereas with Drew, we sit down and he's all like, okay, is that benefiting you or is that benefiting us? And the thing is that we always come from an us standpoint. And I think as CSPs, if you know that your DVM and your DMs want everyone to be supported, not just the one person that's doing really well, you can have an amazing lifestyle with your DVM. And that's the difference between Drew. Drew really understands that Robert and I are literally trying to help develop not only his CSPs, but his offices, and then those office people, and then down, so that anyone new that comes into our division knows the importance of being on the Rocky Mountain division.
I love that. We are the Rocky Mountain division. Damn, that's like a t-shirt waiting to happen. So can I tell you guys a little secret? What do you think? Are y'all asleep yet? Can I tell you a secret? All right. So here's the thing. When I was a new manager, I was a struggling new manager, and I remember having a conversation with Dustin Marks. So before a lot of y'all's time, but Dustin Marks was the ADVM of the Texoma division at that time. And Dustin, he said, Brian, you got to get more help. You got to ask for help. And I said, man, I reached out to John. I didn't hear back. And I reached out to you and I didn't hear back. And he goes, so you just stopped? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, is that what you do with customers? Man, he goes, look, I'm sorry we weren't always available. We just got busy. But if your response to that is to then put yourself on an island, well, then we can't develop the relationship that's possible. We can't support each other in the way that I know both of us want to. And so he totally took ownership for his side in the lack of communication, but he also put it on me to say, what could I do to continue strengthening those bonds? And I want to give you all a little tip here. Speaking as someone that has the pleasure of working with a lot of our CSPs, not just in the field, but as a manager, like your managers actually really want to spend that time with you. They're not ignoring you. It's not that they're not prioritizing you. It's that you're so impressive to them. Your business is operating at such a high level, and they're spending so much of their time putting out fires. Sometimes you're not the biggest priority. Now, the answer is not to be entitled or be the squeakiest wheel in the organization, but the answer is to make sure that you're not afraid to reach out and assert yourself in a really positive way. I think that's so key. All right. So the next question that we posed to the DVMs, we asked him, what do you wish your event team would do more of when it came to your relationship with you? So let's go ahead and see what they had to say for that.
Next question. This one's really simple. What do I wish my events team would do more of when it comes to relationship with me? Probably just gifts. I think that if I got more gifts from them, that'd be better.
Just stop by and visit your local office a little bit more. It's important to realize the influence and the power that you have as a CSP on new reps. You have to realize that you are literally a human god walking in the office, and as humble and as modest as you are, it's important to realize that you can impact somebody just by a quick hello, a quick handshake, or a small interaction, and also realize that your DMs, they feed off of you as well. So if you're doing service calls in an area and there's an office nearby, just pop your head in and say hi to the local district manager. It really helps a ton, and it helps bring the community together and bring your division together. And the second thing that I would say is to learn how to ask for help.
I don't really have anything that I can say that I would look at and go, man, this would be a good thing or that'd be a good thing. I could probably do more in respect to maybe events, retreats, outings for them. They don't have to be heavy duty things like big things, but sometimes that's hard to schedule with everyone's schedule. But the importance of getting time together, I think, as a group is always a good thing. It's always good for the building of the team, the camaraderie, and the DVM can be a part of that. That's always a big deal. I just know in the past, things that we've done as a division events team are always some of the best times, whether it's trips or whether it's just meals or whatever it might be. That's a really big deal. But I think being together would be a real big thing.
There's not a whole lot, quite honestly. I think that they respect me. I think they offer a lot of value to me. I consider a lot of these people friends and feel like that I can talk to these people about just about anything. If I had to pick something, the one thing I wish I was a little bit better at with them is just their goals. I really feel like even though I have a list of goals of what they're trying to do every month, and we can use the quantums and maybe more time planning those goals so they're more specific. And also, I want to really dive into this year some of their financial goals, allow me basically to hold them accountable to making sure that their finances are in a position where they want to be. As a district manager and a division manager, I've had great financial years and also had some years that aren't so great. But because of those trials and tribulations, I feel like I've learned a lot of things, and being able to share those things to people that want to listen is really important. And especially if I can hold them accountable to that success that they have already, want to happen already, I think would be a really big deal.
There's not much more that I would wish or ask of them to do aside from keep learning and growing themselves, and just to continue to be patient with me. We're experiencing some awesome growth in Cavalier, and my team knows that this is growth that is new to all of us. I just ask they continue to stay patient with me as a division manager as I learn and grow myself with the program that's continuing to grow. But together we're going to make it work and continue to make this a pretty awesome program moving forward.
The only thing that I could come up with this would possibly be if just offered up and shared their goals more often. But my events team, again, they help a ton with our divisional events, and so they're adding value outside of the events team, which is great. And I genuinely enjoy the people that are on my events team too. So there's really not much that I could say other than there's a lot of stuff I could talk to about, like, what do I want Seth to do differently, Kinzer, but I'm not going to get into that here.
So, to be clear, Dane is a funny guy. He was joking. So, but that being said, all of you should send Dane some gifts. That would be really, really fun. So a couple things on there. Visiting the office more and just understanding the high level of influence that you have with people in your division. The high level of influence you have not just with new reps, which I think you guys understand that, but the influence you have with district managers. If you want to be at the big kids table, then you can't shy away from that. Because again, you guys are running impressive organizations. And notice how the teams that are performing at the highest level have CSPs and team members who are adding value outside of the program at meetings, conferences, and things like that. It is a very symbiotic relationship. In Texoma and TGP, we pride ourselves on contribution to the division. Okay, we want to be known as a team that doesn't just take and ask, but we give back, and we try to do it at such a very, very high level. Did y'all notice how many of them really there was a spirit of there's really not much else I could ask for? Did y'all kind of catch that? There's not much else that I could ask for. And it's so great when you see that because it makes the DVMs, their team members are contributing at such a high level. It makes them want to do more and be more and support more. And again, it comes back to that question of which came first, because respect is given in both directions. Well, which came first, you know? Are the team members being an active part because the DVM was involved, or is the DVM involved because the team members were being really active parts of their division? Well, again, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because guess what you can control? You can't control another person. You can only control what you do. You can only control yourself. You're absolutely right. And so you can take the proactive steps that can make these things happen. Do you notice there was also a big focus on goals? Okay, I've gotten a chance recently to take a seat at some of the meetings with some of the DVMs and watching how they work with their district offices and how they really dissect the business. And you know, what's great is that so many of y'all have amazing mentors that really help improve your sales, and they help improve and increase your opportunity here. But one area where the DVMs really have so much strength is when it comes to planning and organizing a business strategy, creating a business plan. I got a chance to sit down with John Carpenter this last week at Buffalo Wild Wings, and he blew me away with all the stuff on just investment strategies and financial planning. As a guy that's got kids and a family and all that, this stuff was important to me, and it's amazing the value he has. And you know, the last thing I wanted to quickly touch on there, and then I want to kick it to these guys. Did you notice how Justin, what was his big thing he said? I mean, the only thing I can really ask for them is that they would be patient with me. Did y'all catch that? And earlier, in fact, what Justin said was, hey, I'm going to just ask our team to be humble and to be willing to keep learning. And did you see how Justin was willing to humble himself and say, hey, this is new to me. I'm a work in progress too. And that congruency is a sign of a good leader, and that's important. So I want to direct this question to Mike. You know, Mike, how involved are in the division are the leaders of the Cavalier events team? Like, what does your involvement look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So our involvement, you know, we try to really attend and be part of almost every meeting that goes on in the division. We have a commitment that we will attend at least one local office meeting every single month. 9 times out of 10, we're probably giving a message at that meeting. And just a little plug about the stop-ins and the drop by the office. Not only does it help, you know, development and all the new reps, but it's amazing what it does for your manager when you stop in the office. Like, they're doing all these things, all these PCs, putting all these fires, and then you come in and you're like the light, you're like the beacon. You're like, oh my God, that's why I do what I do right there, that guy, right? So, you know, not only for yourself and the development, but it just gives so much energy to your manager just by popping in for literally 1 minute will make their day. So we attend every divisional meeting, also giving messages. I think we usually have 3 to 4 CSPs on every single divisional meeting, giving messages, blowing people's minds. Myself and Rob give messages at our D30 weekly meeting in the summer, almost every single week, you know, given we're in town not doing shows. We attend all SC1, SC2, COC, YEB, all conferences. Like I already mentioned, office pop-ins and training stop-ins, you know, introduced to the training group. And I make it a personal, you know, kind of mission to myself that every time I see Justin or our pilot, Jake, I always ask, how can I help? You know, how can I help the division? How can I give back? And probably 9 times out of 10, they're like, no, we're good. Everything's good. But like I said, just offering that, you can see how much of a difference it makes for them. And then currently right now, something new that me and Rob and Justin are working on is actually putting together a divisional coaching program for our divisions to help bridge the gap for reps between 10 and 30K in sales to try to get them through that death zone and get them on the events team. And then we've even in the past discussed CSPs entirely running meetings and kind of just, you know, taking that burden off Justin every now and then and just say, hey, we're going to come in and we're going to rock this meeting and we're going to blow it up with some high powered stuff. So that's what I got.
I love it. So the last question we asked the DVMs, and I want to give time to unpack this afterwards. So the last question we asked, I think, is my favorite. What are some of the roadblocks that you've had to overcome as a program? Like, what are some of the pitfalls that could have derailed your progress, but working together with your team, you've been able to get to just a better and more positive place. And so let's go ahead and roll this last video, and we'll get a chance to really see what we've got here.
I would assume most of the divisions that have kind of like the top programs have probably all kind of encountered the same pitfalls. And I feel like these are just normal pitfalls with growth. Any organization, any business that grows, typically the structure that has been set up for them was not the structure that was set up for 3 years down the line. And so there's going to be these growing pains and changes that need to be made as programs want to grow, right? And I really look at the Texoma division as kind of like the pearl, right? In terms of that's the desired program. And why I say that, it's not purely because of the CPO that's created. It's because of the number of people that they have on their team and how it's able to operate kind of like a well-oiled machine. Not a lot of issues for the amount of people that they have on that program. And so the leadership on that team is fantastic. And, Seth and we've been trying to kind of get our program to emulate a lot of those.
One of the big things for us in the early days, we would go through some of our coordinators. We went through, 3 coordinators, people we thought were going to be really, really great. Maybe they weren't as excited about the job as maybe I thought they were, or they weren't excited about what they got out of the job. Looking back at those things, having some consistency there. And in some cases, your DVM really needs to make sure that financially they're supporting some of the things that need to get done. So for me, I feel like if I overspend on my organization at the event team, that's a pretty good dollar to spend.
And so some of the growing pains that we've had to go through, just new structure, adding in different policies to actually having hierarchy for picking, ROR being one as well, transfers, that type of stuff.
Being too exclusive. We were too exclusive at one point where it was like you have to choose to be a CSP type person in order to be part of the program. Seemed logical at the time. Just like with anything in this business, you kind of have to include everyone, and really in any business. Because why? Because that's how we all grow, is by having people push us forward and helping people in the process. You have to have big teams for the cream to rise to that top.
As our team has grown, one of the most important things that we've had to do is learn how to add more room and create more layers and create more opportunity for new reps. We've just worked really well together, making sure that everybody has a great opportunity to get to the highest level possible.
Not being consistent with training after the initial training. We didn't do this at times, and it caused a lack of success for newer people and even for more veteran people for that matter. But consistent training with focused, developed meeting structures, I think are really, really good. Workshops, field trainings, multiple cross trainings. And some of these things we're not perfect at, but these are areas that are pitfalls that we see, and we see a lack of success with some of those.
We've had situations in the past, over the past few years, where we've had to let members of the team go, some right out of the business or just not on the events team anymore. And I think this has really helped strengthen the integrity of our events team and the integrity of our division. Some of these people that we've had to let go from the team were really, really good at selling Cutco. But by letting them go, again, it helped in strengthening the structural integrity of that program. So I think that's helped our team really come together and realize, hey, we're going to do things, but we're going to do things the right way.
When your leaders aren't, for lack of a better word, entitled to getting the best of everything just because, I think that really, really opens the door to the people that are coming up to be more successful, and understand if they check their ego at the door, these top people, our new people will be able to do the same thing.
Another pitfall is not protecting top events. The key event program, as we call it, is important because the concept of getting the best people to the best events is really, really important to the growth of the program. You have to kind of protect that top 20%. 20% of our events probably do 80% of our sales. So what are those 20%ers? And protect those 20% by having your best people there, by developing those, by going through the process. And then another one is transferring reps all over the place. When we first started, that's what we did. We saw no growth when that was happening. There's no incentive whatsoever for a manager to grow people. So you need to make sure that you incentivize managers and yourself to grow people as you go through.
Fortunately, we've had such a good system of conflict resolution in our division, whether it's one-on-one interactions or group conversations. Robert and Curtis and our show team has done a great job of respecting each other and understanding that it's a big team, and as the team grows, things need to change and policies need to shift, and we need to find room for people as we grow.
I feel like every team, if you haven't gone through these, you will go through these. And even if you have a great team, like I feel like we do, it still is going to be a little bit of discomfort that comes along with those shifts in the changes to policies. But I would encourage you to embrace those. The only way for a program to grow is for some of the structure to change, and maybe some of the rules that maybe benefited one person in the past to kind of change as well. I've really seen it that anytime that there's been change in vector, that the people that approach it with an abundance mindset, not a scarcity mindset, to be able to say, like, I'm sure this is going to work out and I'm sure it's for the better, those people have benefited from those situations.
It's important to be flexible. It's important to be open. It's important to have great communication because as a team, we all are working towards our own individual businesses, but we all work together on the same team as well, and have to respect that and learn to work well together.
I hate the cliche of be a team player, right? Like, obviously you want to take care of you, number one, but at the same time, it's like, understand that those programs, if you're kind of trying to understand where they're coming from, it's going to make it a lot easier to shift and grow with the program, not against the program.
Again, it all comes back to culture, and culture a lot of times comes down to time and success. And if your people like each other and they spend time with each other, it really will make a big, big deal to each other. And the more people enjoy each other, the better they're going to be in the booth, the better they're going to be in life, and the better they're going to be for your team, for your organization.
So there's a lot to unpack there. So a couple of my takeaways. I love how Dane talked about most programs are going to have just normal challenges associated with growth, because the structure that you have today is not the same structure that you need 3 years from now. And the structure you put in place 3 years ago is not the same structure that's necessarily going to serve the size of the organization that you're operating at this point. All of you can relate to that in your own personal business. You've had to continue to scale things up as you go. Dane had some very kind words to say about TGP and Texoma, but you also heard John talk about the fact that we turned over multiple coordinators. It was a process to get to where we are today. And so I think that continues to humble us, that's for sure. Stacey talked about how easy it is to be too exclusive. And the reality is you need everyone because it pushes us forward. When you bring more people in, it allows the cream to rise to the top. And a question that I've posed to some people on our team is, imagine that you were coming up. Like, imagine you, as you were at a rep at 25K in sales, were coming into the team now. How many barriers of entry would you want put in front of you before you had a real legitimate opportunity here to grow? I think that's important to always keep in mind. I love how Dane talked about the abundance mindset. Okay? The abundance mindset. In the booth, we talk a lot about that. But I think as business owners, it's not a concept that we share enough. It's not something we embrace enough. Change can be disruptive. And inherently, when you change policies or you change structure, there's going to be some people it benefits more, and there's going to be some people it benefits less. But if you have an openness, if you're adaptable, and you're willing to sort of go with it and grow into it and always say, I know this can be a great thing. I know this can be for the best. We just have to work to find that place. Okay. And the big thing I got to say is when John talks about culture, for him, it comes from shared experiences and time together, and it comes from success. There's nothing like when you've gotten a chance to go to bat or to go to battle together and come out the other side. So there's so many different areas that we could take this when you think about it. And by the way, every one of your programs has crazy stories too about how you've dealt with transfers or ROR or this or that. And it's amazing. Like I would love to pick everyone's brain, but instead I'm going to pick theirs. Okay, so why don't we kick this over? Curtis, you got the mic. Why don't you lead off, man? Share with us a little bit of how that experience has been for you or your team.
Right. So like you said, there's a lot of things that we actually go through. And I think one of the things is allowing like management candidates on the team. That was like a struggle that we've had for many years because some of the team members are like, no, we have ROR, they don't belong here. They're only here for short term. We only want long-term people on here. And then what we did is we found out that that rubbed elbows with our DVM very quickly because he's like, no, we need these people to be supported, and there should be two different ways of doing it. So for me, that was just one of those areas that, you need to work with your DVM on it. If you feel that you shouldn't have management candidates on your team, maybe you should rethink that. That was one thing that we found that our DVM, once we said, okay, we'll let a little room here, then it opened up more doors for us to have more things, and he was more cooperative with that as well. Gray areas, I do know that that was something that was brought up, right? On our team, there is no gray areas. We don't play in the gray areas. It's black or white, right? The rule is the rule, the policy is the policy, and not only does our DVM know that, but our team knows that. Someone falls in that gray area, the DVM comes down and says, no, these are the policies that we agreed on. This is what we voted on as a team, and we need to make sure that we follow those policies and programs. So, if you're struggling in that area, make sure that there is no gray. Well, if this instant happened here, that's an if. Okay, there is no ifs. Okay, if you play on the if, then you're always going to have that issue with your DVM. You're always going to have that issue with your fair and show team, and there's always going to be that rift. So I'd watch out for that. Trimming the fat. The last thing I have is trimming the fat. One thing on our team is that if you're not producing and you're not doing your thing, unfortunately, we have to trim you off of our team. And I call it trimming the fat because you have to hit qualifications, you have to hit levels. We call them groupies or whatever they are, vectories or whatever. And on our team, we literally say, okay, well, this year it's 4K every month if you want to be a candidate. If you want to be tier 3, you have to sell 5K, 6K, 8K, 9K, right? And if you don't hit those levels, you don't go to work the best events, right? So you move down in tiers and stuff like that. By having a structure for us, the thing that's nice about it is that they're working their butt off so they can hit the next tier, so they can get mentored by higher, powerful people. And the thing that's nice about it too is that if you are competing on a team, you have to have some kind of competition, not only just with yourself, but moving that number or moving that to more 100K people. We have a cruise. We try to get 11, 12, 13 people that sell 100 grand a year to be on that. Okay. Most teams, they don't even have 4 or 5 reps that even do that. So that's something that we think about when we trim fat. And the cream rises to the top. So the thing is that remember when you're thinking of that, that's an area that we struggled on. And now that we have it, there's no issues, no nothing, and we just fly. So
I love it. All right, Mike, let's hear it from you, man. Share with us either some of the challenges y'all have had or ways that you've kind of grown through some things.
Yeah, so some challenges we've had in the past, some pitfalls. Probably the biggest one is just struggling with the abundance mindset. I know we are very limited in the past.
Limiting beliefs.
Just a few years ago, we were only doing like 45 events for the whole year. That's because there was no more events in our territory. That was it. We were tapped out. 45 is the cap. Sorry, guys. You have to move if you want to do more events. Amazingly, last year we did 99 events, or 2 years ago we did 99, and last year we did over 240 events.
Wow.
Surprisingly, there's more events out there.
Wow, hang on, y'all. Come on. What? They quadrupled their events in 2 years? Good Lord.
And then also with that, not only finding more events, but then, expanding and growing those key events. Up until just a few years ago, at our biggest event all year, we only had 1 booth. Just 1 booth at the event. 2 booths, that didn't work. That no one sells more at 2 booths. That can't happen. So surprisingly, we added a booth and we nearly doubled the show. We're adding another booth this year and we're looking to almost double the show again. Another big pitfall for us was recruiting challenges. We've never been the biggest team, and I'm sure other people out there can agree with this. And really the biggest reason for it is we just had no strategy in the past. It was just good luck. We'll run a training when there's people and hopefully they'll show up and we'll keep doing this. Where now we actually have a set training in place. We have a mayor and SE1 training depending on the size of the training group. And then we also run an SE2 training. And last year, much credit to Rob kind of spearheading it. I kind of worked more behind the scenes. But we ran kind of the first ever regional-wide training seminar after SC2, which we had over 200 attendees at. And we were shooting to get 50. 50 was our goal, so we blew that out.
Oh, jeez.
And then really kind of our third big pitfall, kind of years in the past now, we've made great strides recently, but just ROR issues. And I know that's something that Curtis may have mentioned. Back in the day, it was really kind of like the Wild West. I mean, everyone was out for themselves, it didn't matter whose customers were who. And it really created a lot of, discomfort between the team. I mean, there was always conflicts, there was issues. Hey, that's my customer, and just problems. So now we've really kind of modeled it after the TGP ROR system, where everyone has access to it. We pull it up, look at it right on the spot, and just get everything situated and handled right there, opposed to people finding out weeks later, or a month later, you're on your customer like, oh yeah, I bought a homemaker from Rob at the show. No one ever wants to hear that without being informed. So, thanks.
I love it. Y'all can clap. I like that.
Thank you.
So why should we prioritize this? What makes it worth it? Why be on the other side? Why not just be on a Cutco island made of CPO and trimmers? Yay, that sounds exciting. Guys, when I think about the experiences that have been possible because of the resources and influence of top division managers, it's such an exciting thing. And what's so great is they have so much to give to our organizations, and you guys have so much to give to them. At YEB 1 week ago here in Houston, Texas, I don't know why I keep getting back to Houston, man. All right, but 1 week ago in Houston, Texas, I got a chance to see Stacy Campbell put 6 bottles of Dom Perignon out there with all his CSPs and managers, and they're just popping this thing till security comes, and then security comes, and then security escorts us out. Okay, it was sick. Okay, how about going to Vegas and like shooting guns? And I mean, like, I'm a Texas guy, but I mean, wow, that's cool. Okay, I mean, when I think about John Carpenter, this year his wife Monica taught me how to ski. I am 36 years old. I've traveled the world, but I've never been skiing. Okay, a year or so before that, we were in New Orleans. We've been to Belize. We went to Honduras. We've been on a few cruises. We're going to Yosemite. It's amazing. It's so cool because he gets it. He gets it. Like, he's so excited. Nick Matlack, I love going up there, getting to go to a Thunder game with him, getting a chance for him to say, man, how can I do more for the CSPs? Like, what can I do for them? I want to be a part of this. Can I talk at a meeting? It's so great when you have this openness. Wes Frank, like, renting this sick place out in Sedona. And Sedona is made of like magic and unicorns. You guys ever seen that place? It's ridiculous. All the things Drew does. It's amazing when you see that. And those are just experiences. But what's better is getting a chance to be a part of an organization that prioritizes stability and merit and operates with integrity. Isn't that something you guys want to build around? Yeah, absolutely. And you can be a part of that. You can be such an important part. Guys, this job is my passion. This job has become where I will spend my life. I feel relatively confident. I'm 16 years in, and I honestly believe vector marketing is the premier place to develop young and not so young, this guy, young entrepreneurs. And by strengthening the relationships between top influencers across all of our various programs, we are positioning the CSP community to operate with more confidence, with more stability. And by doing that, it's going to create better results for everyone at every single level. This is the vector of the future. Who wants to be a part of the vector of the future? Guys, we hear these stories about like the good old days when a homemaker was like $14 and all this stuff, okay? How we didn't sell at shows, we took leads because it was a silly, silly time. I love hearing about the vector of the past. I'm a part of the vector of the past, but I'm way more excited about the vector of the future because the vector of the future is managers, it's CSPs, it's support people. And you know what we all are? We're business owners. We're business owners, and we're operating in a way that is symbiotic and supportive, and we build each other up, and we make them better, and they will make us better too. But that commitment has to start somewhere, and this room can be where it starts. So for all the DVMs we have that get it, and for all the DVMs we have that don't, and for all the CSPs we have here that are ready, and for all the CSPs we have out here who are not, I will still issue that challenge. I am more excited about the vector of the future than I am the vector of the past, than I am the vector of the present, because I know how good it can be, and I believe in everyone in this room, and I believe that you can influence influencers. You guys can lead that that charge and make this an even more exciting place to be. Let's be that positive force that drives these relationships to a better and more exciting place. Thank you to our coordinators here. Thank you to the DVMs that participated so willingly. By the way, would any of y'all like to have access to some of those videos to sit down with your DVM and be able to say, hey man, here's where some of these programs are at? It'd be kind of cool if we could maybe get a little closer to that too. Just by a show of hands, could that be a useful tool to you? Awesome. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to provide everything you just saw, but we're also going to provide the full long form things. There's over an hour of content there. And whatever you need by way of support and communication with your DVMs, I bet there's something there that could help. So let's give a giant round of applause to Curtis J. Hughes and Mike Tortora. And let's bring up our MC, Mr. Steven Decker. Thank you guys very much.